What's up, y'all? Nathan Gray video here. And while we were all still worried about, Somali fraud and all that, well, the American empire turned around and toppled Venezuela. Let's talk about it. Let's take a walk. Here we go. Yo, we're back on our walks. And just like I said, man, it's just like we were all just getting caught up with the Somali fraud news, weren't we? We were all trying to make sense of all that. First thing I wake up to today, the American empire has been bombing Venezuela last night. And just like that, we got a new thing to worry about. So holy crap, man. I mean, what can us regular Americans do? Except kind of worry and fret and concern. The Stoic lifestyle says we shouldn't worry ourselves about things that are outside of our control. But it's just all happening around us so much. It's like, what are we supposed to do? So firstly, back to the Somali fraud thing, it's like, well, here's your number one clue that it's obviously true, is that the mainstream media is telling you it's not. Whatever the mainstream media tells you is generally a cover-up and a lie. Here's how you know it's also true, is that all their local news has been talking about it for like 10 years. Here's how you also know it's true, is that people, working class, regular people from the areas have been reporting these suspicions and situations for just that long, for about 10 years. And not only is it in Minnesota, but as we've seen, it's in Ohio too, and other states coming out about it. And with all the major politicians directly connected to Minnesota, Ohio, and everything affiliated with it, kind of running and hiding, that, of course, raises more alarm bells and red flags. So when we talk about the mafia and the corruption side of things, well, they're just making it more and more evident by their actions and their defense statements or their excuses that it's them, that they are the mafia, that the politicians are the mafia. And as I've said before, what is the mafia now, except it's all legalized? Everything that used to be mafia activity and mafia control, all these powers and manipulations have all gone to big major industry, the complexes of the United States, the military industrial complex, the pharmaceutical complex, the homeless complex, and all these things. It's really hard to describe to my kids. My son asked me lots of questions about it. And it's hard to describe because there's so many different tentacles to this monster, and they all work together. And of course, being the public school educated young man he is, you have to also counter the mainstream narratives that are still in 2020, 25 and 2026, still telling them that, the term conspiracy theory is, for kooks. So, you're still fighting that as you're explaining things to kids these days. So here we are coming out of that, and he's watching the videos, and he watched the Nick Shirley video, and he was like, dang, when you see that, you're like, whoa. Anybody who's arguing, or at this point defending Somalians, we'll call it Somali fraud, because it's certainly not Somalians in general, but the Somali fraud, and then of course all the Somalis defending their neighbors who are obviously guilty. But as that uncovers itself, it's pretty plain and clear. So anyways, we wake up today. Was it the third day of the year? Only the third day of the year. And it's not like this hasn't been lining up, but we wake up today to see the bombings of Venezuela, the overthrow and capture of Maduro, their president. And this is eerily similar to the overthrow of their last successful socialist president, Hugo Chavez. And so the last time we overthrew their government, and Trump's been telling all of us he's going to do this. It's all about the oil. He said it in his last term. But You know, it's under the guise right now of fentanyl and drugs and cartels. That's the reason. Oh, and when I saw CNN's celebratory shot of Venezuelans celebrating in the street, it looked like a group of 20, 30 people. And it looked like they must have been in the United States because it did not look. But, so anyways, Hugo Chavez was their last successful socialist president. And we took down him and labeled him a dictator too. But really, this was our, you know, the world's shining example of socialism finally working unmolested, at least at the time being. He was paying out dividends on oil assets to the citizens. So if you have a country who has a lot of oil, this is how it would work here, theoretically. We make so much oil and we sell it to so many different outside markets. And this oil comes from the ground that is shared by the citizens, and we all own this property collectively as a nation. And so the profits that will come from this oil will be dispersed among the citizens. And so he was doing that, and people loved him for it, Venezuelans. And the country was good, and things were peaceful, and here comes America with freedom to the rescue. You need some freedom so we can hold on to your oil for you. Hold on to this freedom while we hold on to your oil deposits. And so it worked, but it didn't work. And then, you know, over these past 10 years or whatever it's been since Chavez, Maduro took over with intentions and things of doing the same thing. And now, here comes America. Freedom for you, oil for us. So my son asked, "Is this good? Is this good for America?" And I'm like, well, it's not a good look for America. Is it good in the sense that now we've secured oil deposits by military overthrow instead of, you know, free market enterprise? I'm sure it's what they want. I'm sure it's what they wanted. But is it good? It's not a good look. It's just more American empire doing an empirical shit. So here we are, day one of the official toppling of Venezuela, which works out perfectly in time-wise because, you know, that kind of Ukraine war has been coming to a fizzle. So they had to have a new one, you know, they got to have a new one. Got to have a new enemy, you got to have a new military objective. Otherwise, what's the point in giving trillions and billions and trillions of dollars to our military, right? But wherein lies the solution? Where do we pick it up and start fighting against this? I don't know. But more and more, what I keep thinking about is how Gen X needs to step up. Gen X, the quiet ones, you know, the small population, the forgotten ones, the ones that the boomers and the millennials think don't exist, don't have anything to say, don't have anything to do. Yeah, well, it's about damn time. It's about time Gen X steps up, steps in, and takes over. Y'all are done fucking this shit up. You fucked it up enough. The boomers and the millennials who think they can take over, just stop. Gen X is coming in. We need to take over this shit and start doing things the right way. Because with the exception of a few asshats in our generation, and I'm sure there's lots of them, we've kind of got a good perspective of old school values from our grandparents with modern ways of thinking that are forward thinking, ingenuity. So it's about time to Gen X to step over and take over everything. Take over our cities, take over our local governments, take over our school boards, take over the culture aspects and stuff that we're all failing, dropping the ball, and everything kind of sucks culturally and entertainment and all that stuff. Gen X, step up. This is our call to action. Time for us to start taking shit over. But that's it for the walk today. I just had to rattle off a few things that are on my mind, and more specifically, We've overthrown Venezuela. How about that? That's crazy. Just like that, American empire toppling another country, imprisoning another presidential leader, or another country's president, just like Saddam Hussein. That was a big mistake too. So, time will tell, as it always does, but I'd rather not wait. Let's stop putting up with this stuff and let's start taking over. So Gen X, if you're hearing this right now, this is your call to action. Run for local office. Do what you can to start taking over your school boards, your city councils, your local government, your state government. Because in many times, this is the only time I see anybody saying anything sensible. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene came around. Who expected that? No one had that on their bingo card, that Marjorie Taylor Greene would end up being the sensible one in regards to the genocide on Gazans, Palestine, and the corruption of Israelis. Oh, did you hear that? That possibly this whole Somalian thing might be connected to Israelis? Now that's crazy. Like I said, it was just starting to unravel itself, and now we got something else going on. Well, until next time, you've been watching Nathan Gray video. Y'all take it easy.